Hello, my friends at the University of West Indies. My name is Christopher Ohlendorf. I am a professor of interactive media here at Humber Polytechnic in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And I will be going through this guide here of going from MIDI to an AI song. Now, this guide document is there for you to access. I've put together this video just doing a live demo through this process to maybe clarify things for you and just show you how you can go about doing this on your own. The purpose, this process is not about using AI to replace you as a composer and musician. It's intended as an experiment with a new production technology that you creatively guide towards your musical vision. It won't be perfect. Think about what works and what doesn't work as you try out this new tool, right? And so I think this stuff is important to keep in mind because this is essentially a new production technology for you to try out, AI music generation. And the way we're going to do it here is it's going to be using your own original composition, right? So it's going to be using that to base the AI song off of, and you'll add your own creative prompts to it as well. So you are still effectively the creative visionary behind this work. You are still the author of what is being done here. It's just that the AI tool we're going to use is sort of taking your guide and putting something together on its own. And so think of it as some kind of companion that you're using just to try out some new stuff and see how it goes. The overview, this guide outlines how to make a composition created in MuseScore and generate an AI enhanced version using Suno. The workflow here is that we'll first export an MP3 of your composition from MuseScore. We'll upload that MP3 to Suno and then prompt, generate, and refine the results to ideally get a song that you like. Step 1, export MP3. So we're going to open up MuseScore. I do recommend you spread and pan your mix a bit between the instruments and tracks. I find that separating the instruments in the mix makes it easier for the AI tool to be able to differentiate the instruments for when you guide it and tell it how to sort of, adjust them. Rather than it all being mixed just in the center, it can get very compressed. Having the instruments spread out helps the AI to be able to differentiate the instruments themselves. And what we'll do is just go to File, Export. We'll export the main score as an MP3 with these settings. So I have MuseScore open here. Here's a composition I put together. We can just listen to it real quickly. It's a guitar and flute melody. So it just repeats that a few times. And like I mentioned before, we'll open up the mixer here, and maybe you even heard it as it was playing, but the guitar is mixed, it's panned a bit to the left, and the flute is panned a bit to the right. And like I said, this helps split the instruments up in the mix so that it's clearer for the AI tool to differentiate them. And what we'll do is just go to File, we will export, and you'll have main score selected here so that it gets all of the tracks together. And the format is you will have MP3 audio selected with these settings and export. And then you will export it to an area on your computer where you'll be able to easily access it. And I already have a version of the song there, so I'll just replace it with a new one. So here we are back in the guide. We will go to step 2. Now we're going to upload the audio to Suno. First, you need to make sure you are logged into Suno. So you might need to sign up. That can take just a moment to do so. You can connect it to your Google account or other various types of accounts. So just make sure you've signed up and you are already in Suno to work on this. And you might notice as well, once you first sign up for Suno, that it'll give you a bunch of guides and a bunch of tips and tricks. It can seem a bit overwhelming at first, but that can help you through understanding some of the different areas in the application. We will be using the free account for this sort of experiment here, just so you don't have to pay anything. But with a free account, there are some limitations. You'll only have 50 credits per day, which basically equates to 5 prompt generations, and each generation gives you 2 songs per prompt. That might seem a bit confusing, but it'll make more sense once you start using the tool. And in order to upload our audio, we'll select Create in the left-hand navigation side to open up the workspace. And then you'll click this plus audio here, upload your MP3, trim it as needed because with the free account, you can only have up to 1 minute of audio, and you'll select cover and click continue. So I'll just show you that right here. here's Suno, right? The home might look something like this, but we'll click on create. This opens up your workspace. Okay, and this is sort of the main sort of AI generation area here. And like I mentioned, you will click audio and you will upload your file. You can just record on the fly as well, but since you have these compositions, we're going to use that. And this is the composition I put together. Open it. And here is where you can trim it. My export, the song's only 37 seconds, but like I mentioned, with a free account, you can only use up to 1 minute of an audio file. So you might need to trim it to, whatever area you want to use here for this experiment. Of course, if you pay and upgrade your account, you can do up to 8 minutes, but we're not doing that right now. So once you have the part selected, and again, you can listen to it back just to make sure it's a good chunk you like, and then you'll click save. Now it's going to upload the audio to Suno, but what we're going to do here is click cover. Okay, so this is going to take the audio that we are uploading, and it will allow us to guide a cover of the music, basically. Extend is another feature that will essentially take the composition and extend its length, right? Okay, so it has the song uploaded here. So right now what I'm going to do is over here, go to this button, go to remix edit, and click cover again. Okay, so now that's going to open this custom window here. Yes, okay, so that will get us to that point in the process. So just make sure if the audio uploads like it did for me here, you just go to these 3 dots and you go to remix edit and you click on cover, and it'll open up this window. So that gets us to prompt, generate, and refine. So this is where you're going to be putting all the creative sort of guidance and input here into the generation. So I do recommend you keep the lyrics empty or just with instrumental there. Unless you want lyrics to be added into your song, you can definitely try that out. You'll input specific instruments and styles into the styles area. That's, I think, the main sort of creative input you're going to have on this. And you'll click create, and it will make 2 songs. Now, if you have a free account as well, it might give you a few more with advanced AI models to say, hey, look at how much better this sounds. Why don't you pay for an account? But you can listen to those, but don't feel forced to have to pay for it. You'll listen to your songs, and you can redo the process with different prompts to get different results. But remember, with free accounts, you're really going to only have around 5 tries of this a day. And once you find a version of the song you like, you can click on the 3 dots next to the song, and you can download an MP3 audio of it. So make sure once you have your favorite song you put together, your favorite version of it, that you download an MP3 so that you have it for reference. So here I am here, right? I'll go through this process. I have the audio uploaded. I have it on the cover setting. The lyrics are set to instrumental because I'm not going to have any lyrics on this song. Now you'll notice that Suno does sort of find its own way of describing what you uploaded. It's quite interesting, right? It registers the tempo, the key, all of these kinds of things, the chord progression. Now, if you just kept this as the style and you created a song, it's just going to basically export exactly what you uploaded because that's what it's registering from the song. What we're going to do is we're going to change this a bit. So, right, as you can recall my composition, there's an acoustic guitar and there's a flute. So I'm going to try and describe the kind of instrumentation that I want it to do here. So I'm going to say a finger plucked acoustic guitar. Then I'll just put a comma, and I'll say, how about a soft flute? So all I'm doing here is just describing each instrument, basically. So you can think about doing that for your styles. If there's particular, again, playing style you want the instrument to have, like I have a finger-plucked acoustic guitar there, right? That's going to take that and use that kind of sound. But try out different, again, style guides that you use when you describe these instruments. And you'll notice, of course, there's some advanced options here. With a free account, you can't really manipulate them, but you'll notice that, there's a style influence, a weirdness, an audio influence scale. So if you do have a paid account, you can pull this audio influence even further to the end, so that would just make it even closer to the composition that you put in it, right? Right now it's only at 25%. That's what the free version allows. So it's ideally, it's hypothetically only using 25% of the uploaded audio, and then it's kind of filling in 75% of it with its own kind of ideas. I hate to say ideas because it's not really thinking, but its own approaches. So I have this workspace here. You'll have your own workspace. I think it'll say probably my workspace, and it'll save it to that. And I'll just click create. And here we are, okay? It is creating the songs live. It's spinning, it's loading, and you'll notice maybe it'll take a minute or two to do so. It even kind of makes its own little picture there. But I think I will just cut this video to once the songs are ready. Okay, we made it. Now these songs are ready to go, which you can see they're no longer loading. I am surprised by the length of these. Again, this is just me trying it out live for this video. I don't know if I've ever really seen one get 5.5 minutes generated. So for whatever reason, Suno felt it was worth extending the song that long. And let's just go ahead and re-listen to the MuseScore composition just to remember what we're working with here. Okay, so let's see what Suno decided to do. Okay, not at all what I expected it was going to do, but that's what makes this an experiment. Wow, it added in a lot of percussion and really kind of made it a bit of a driving beat there. That's just a short clip of it. I'll have to listen through the whole song after this video. But wow, that was quite interesting. And you'll notice, right, again, this is a 5.5 minute song that it created. All I put in there was 37 seconds, right? So it's using the composition that I put in there as the reference to build out a fuller song. So it's really interesting to just see what it does, right? Because again, I gave it some guidance there, just describing these instruments, but it decided on its own to kind of do some different stuff. So yeah, it makes 2 songs each time you sort of prompt it. So let's listen to the other interpretation it did of this composition. Again, I'll have to listen to the rest of that on my own, but really interesting. And the beginning part there, it really did feel very, very similar to the composition, right? So if anything, I could even just download this song and trim it, sort of crop it on my own, just to have that selection as kind of a, more fleshed out version of the composition itself. Whereas the rest of the song, it kind of just goes into this other thing that sounds very similar. It follows similar kind of melody, similar instrumentation, but then sort of becomes something else a little bit out of that. So this is the process here, right? It's fun to see what ends up coming from your own compositions and how you guide it. And, you can listen back to your results. You can try it out again with different styles. You can add lyrics if you want to your song. But like I said, just be mindful, right, of the credits here. They will run out relatively quickly as you work through these generations. And since it's a free account as well, it's working with version 4.5 of the AI model that's sort of creating this music. You can see, of course, if you pay for different tiers, it will give you more advanced, more intelligent models to create even higher quality compositions out of it. But once you have one of these songs that you like, you can just click on the three dots and you can go to download and download an MP3 of it. You can also do a shared link if you'd like to send it along to anyone, but I do recommend you go ahead and get an MP3 so you have a file of it that you can refer to and share as well. So quite interesting. And this is all, like I've said, using the free version of Suno, trying things out with it. If you want to put the investment in, there are a couple different plans, and you can kind of see the differentiation between them. The Pro plan allows you to have way more songs that you can generate, and it uses more advanced models. You can use up to 8 minutes of audio, all kinds of different features. Now, the Premier plan, which is quite pricey, gives you access to something called Suno Studio, which is really interesting. This is a brand new feature they added in, and you can see here it's sort of its own DAW, its own digital audio workstation, where you can actually generate each track on its own and mix it like that. And you could even, with your composition, split the MIDI exports into each instrument, put them into the studio here, and then you could manipulate it each instrument at a time rather than as an overall sort of mixed export of the whole composition. So really interesting developments happening here. And again, I think you can think of it, the scary part here is thinking of this as somehow replacing musicians in some way, which that fear I think is valid. But you also can approach it thinking about it as, again, a new creative tool to see how you can maybe use it a bit to your advantage, especially in a situation where you maybe wouldn't have the resources to, record a whole song in a studio. You could think about how could you create some version of that with AI, while I think being transparent that it is AI as well, as a more experimental approach to song production. So that covers the demo there. I hope you had fun going through it with me. I'm going to listen to those full song exports here once I'm done recording this, because they sounded quite interesting. But that's it, right? So thank you for following along with this guide. Hopefully it's helpful. If anything is unclear or confusing, please email me at christopherollendorf@humber.ca. And thank you very much.